I figured instead of scrolling my phone while I'm on lunch, I'll do a life update while I eat. 211, 1-2-11. Hell yeah, dude. So yeah, we got the Mickey D's, you know. We out here. I'm listening to Exploring Andromeda, conceptualizing when the fuck to release all these projects, bro. Because I have too many in the vault. There's nothing I hate more than sitting on all this music and, you know, feeling like I got to do a rollout for every single release. I hate it. I wish I was at that point where I could just drop something and everybody saw it. Because it's really not about me. It really is that this album is so damn good and so impactful from a lyrical standpoint. I feel like it's really going to do good in people's lives to hear this project. And it would be a shame if I put it out and it never got heard. Because as I continue on, I'm going to want to promote the other stuff I already have out. I'm going to want to promote the other stuff. I think it's just because in my head, this album is not as mainstream marketable, which I fucking hate that I even feel that way. Because reality is, what does that even mean? You know, this is a dope ass album, and it's me being different that makes it good. It's the fact that no one's ever made anything like this before. This project is so unique to me. Nobody could ever replicate this shit, bro. What this is. I have found my sound. I figured it out. And I'm hiding from releasing this album because I feel like it's not promotable, not marketable. I don't even know what I'm talking about when I think that, or what I'm thinking. It's totally marketable because it's me. I just have to be myself. You know? But I think I just feel like, you know, I'm going backwards, you know, if I put this out first. To me, there's always been a trajectory, a timeline of the way that my life is supposed to go and I'm supposed to grow. But maybe this is where I learned that growth is not linear. And even though this album is full of wisdom that I wish I lived by, the truth is I don't. I don't live by the wisdom on this album. And maybe that's why it's so hard for me to release it, because at the same time that it is completely me and my identity is so rooted in this project. You can hear how much of me got injected into this, my true self. At the same time that that's happening, I also know that the values on this project are calling me higher than I currently live, you know? And putting out albums like the stuff that's on Godsend, where it's more kind of getting in my bag, like flexing a little bit more while telling my story, but it's definitely a lot more like I'm dope type of album. This album is more like God is dope. God is so fucking dope. I'm nothing without him. And I want both to be able to coexist. You know, maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe Godsend is my album, and Exploring Andromeda is the album that God has for me to drop, that he called me to make. You know, I think both can exist and both can be truly, you know, valid projects, you know, in the world. And I think I just got to look at it from that lens. I never thought about it until I'm talking about it now, which is, you know, growth is not linear. Sometimes we get wisdom handed to us way before we're ever ready to truly apply it. Sometimes we know the answer and we still don't listen. Sometimes we know the answer and the next step to take and we still choose not to take it. That is being human. That is being human. And sometimes I just want to be human. I think Christ gives me the freedom to do that. It's a wonderful gift. You know, what a wonderful gift to be chosen even though you're not worthy, you know, to be righteous yet someone who knows he's not a perfect example. I think I'm also really hard on myself and have a high bar expectation of what my reputation should be in the community and how I want people to view me. You know, it's not so much that I care about what people think as much as it is that I want to have the proper impact by what I do. I don't want someone to take what I do and just feel like I'm the shit and they're not, you know. I think I care too hard, you know. I don't often give myself permission to flex in this shit and be like, you know what, I earned my place. Ow, I just hurt my ear with that clap. I guess I'm still sensitive. I shot a gun for the first time this past weekend and I blew out my hearing. It has not fully recovered since. It sucks. It's not like major. I probably lost about 10%, but it hasn't come back in 5 days. And I'm like, I guess this is just it now. I guess this is just my hearing now, you know? It was fun though. Shout out to Matt. Congrats on getting married, brother. We were celebrating his bachelor party. Anyway. Yeah, these are just my thoughts. Conceptualizing projects all the time. I feel like I'm never truly here. I'm always in my art, you know, I'm always escaping to it. I wish I was here more. I wish I was present more. But with the state of the world, it's hard not to want to escape all the time. Why would you want to be here? You know? When here is so terrifying. I'm watching Marines get their arms broken, dragged out of a courthouse. Or whatever. I don't know what the name of the... It looks like a courthouse. I don't know if that's a proper term. But for speaking up is using free speech, you know? Watching families get separated by ICE agents who are fucking operating like they're a rogue agency, you know? Yet seem to have full authority to do so somehow. And you know, it's so easy just to feel powerless, you know. I want instead to feel hopeful and excited about the future. And there was a time when I was a teenager, you know, I was hopeful about the future. I used to dream a lot more. Now it's less dreaming and more visualizing and trying to bring it to fruition, creating action steps, creating a plan. I'm always working, I'm always strategizing, and so I'm always burnt out. Because every waking free second that I have to think about the life that I want, you know, I spend trying to build it. But then I wonder if I'm missing on the life I want by trying so hard to build it. I heard a quote that was like, build a life that you don't need to escape from. I want that. I'm trying to do that. But how do you do that? Without doing something different, without leaving where you currently stand. I'm trying. It's taking everything in me not to just up and leave my job. And frankly, it's because I pay rent that I haven't, you know. But at the same time, I have this deep desire to just trust myself and believe that I'm right about everything I'm feeling when it comes to, you know, getting out there, finding clients for production and doing music. You know, owning the fact that I specialize in hip hop, R&B, you know. I often feel like my strengths are not enough because, you know, I think in my head as a producer, I got to be able to play guitar, I got to be able to play piano, I got to be able to play all these things. But the reality is, no. That's not what a producer does. A producer doesn't mean, oh, I can play guitar. A producer knows where to go to get the guitar that they need for the song that they're building. And maybe it's from their own hand. But it's like when I created Sidelines, you know, I knew nobody could solo on that track the way Zayden could solo on that track. And it's one of the most beautiful guitar solos I've ever heard in my life. It's my favorite guitar solo of his I've ever heard. Maybe I'm biased because it's on my track, but truly, he just casually came through and created one of the most beautiful guitar solos I've ever heard. I don't even think he knows that. I haven't even told him that. How much I appreciate him on that track. I need to put it back out because it's such a beautiful track and it's more relevant now than ever. You know, I don't want to be on the sidelines. Been overcome by these white lies. Don't want to be on the sidelines. It's a beautiful track, and I really should just release it, you know? Because who cares? And I can do whatever I want. Same with the album. You know, at the end of the day, I wonder whether it really matters whether I release it now or later. Or if I release it and then immediately put a different album out afterwards. I just don't want to overshadow my most beautiful work. Something that I'm so proud of. I don't want it to get drowned out underneath the stuff that I think is more mainstream or more, you know, just more widespread good. Because it's just frankly, it just comes down to two different types of albums, you know? The whole point of this album, Exploring Andromeda, is that it's conceptual. And so you're supposed to listen with intent. You're supposed to consume it thinking, what do these lyrics mean? What is the story being told here? What's the subtext underneath? You know? Oh, there's a sci-fi story going on. What? What does that mean? What does that represent? Oh, there's a spiritual side to it also? Okay. So it's sci-fi, spiritual, and human? You know? That's pretty sick. And you have to listen with that kind of intent to really appreciate what this project is. And so that's why it's hard to market, because you can't sum it all up in one tiny, stupid, short video. You know? I need to talk about it in interviews. I need to talk about it on my YouTube channel. I need to tell people, hey, there was a lot of fucking thought that went into this, guys. Like, I have been dreaming up these characters and the story for 6 years. You know, this is not an overnight thing for me. It was something I saw when I was 18 and 19 and wanted to build into a bigger thing. And I knew if I just kept writing at it, if I kept building on it over time, it would eventually be good. You know? The characters would find their names. The story would find its meaning, and things would get written. So yeah, I don't know. I just hate that I'm doing all the amazing things I wanted to do. And yet I still feel pretty empty, man. I still feel like it's not enough. Because I think my dream life is just, you know, it's there, it exists. But at the same time, I just wonder if when I get there, am I going to feel this way too? I hope not. I truly hope not. And I hold the hope that like a future me is watching this and going like, hard no, you have no idea, bro. Like everything turns around. Like it does get better. Or I'm watching back and I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like cling on to your young years, you know? Because I'm starting to wonder, like as the state of the world gets worse, I'm starting to wonder if it's worth, you know, investing my youth in my future. Or if I should instead be enjoying my youth and accept that there might not be a future, you know, so let me soak up the now. And that's life for everybody, is the never-ending balance of, do I care more about right now or do I care more about tomorrow? You know, and that applies to every single aspect of your life: money, relationships, friendships, art, your job, everything. What you do for fun, like how you spend your time, you know? It's hard how to know how to spend my time. You know, and I feel so guilty. I feel like Spider-Man, honestly, in the sense of the way that, you know, I've been reading a lot of Ultimate Spider-Man comics lately. And one particular issue where, you know, Peter is kind of being confronted by Mary Jane, who he's broken up with at this point in time, and because he feels like, you know, she's in too much danger. And he starts dating Kitty Pryde, who he feels like is a better fit for him because she understands his lifestyle, you know? And so he can be more Spider-Man. And he's skipping class, and he's, you know, he's getting in trouble with Aunt May. And, you know, like finally, basically, you know, his life as Spider-Man is beginning to overtake his life as Peter Parker. And he's losing out on these crucial parts of what make him him, which is Mary Jane, which is his Aunt May, like, and he's just not present. He's not there. He's so busy in his world, and completely alone in it too. Like can't even share it with Aunt May. You know, when he goes to confess to her, he's Spider-Man, and she expresses her opinion before he can even tell her that it's him. She expresses how much she hates Spider-Man, and so Peter's like, oh God, I can't even tell her. Like, she's gonna hate me, you know. And I sort of feel this way about Andromeda, where, you know, I'm consumed because of the responsibility that I feel with my talent and gift. I feel this sort of like, I gotta go do it, man. I gotta do it. Like, I owe it to these people. I gotta go all the way, you know? They're counting on me, man. People are counting on me, you know? And how can I save the world if I don't save myself and put myself in a better position? And, you know, I gotta use my gifts. And so I feel this. But I feel it the same way as these recent issues I've been reading, where it's overtaking my life. And there truly is a duality. There truly is a duality. Andromeda is not Harlan. I mean, it is, but it's like Peter and Spider-Man. It's like they're both, yet also they serve different purposes for Peter, you know? And Spider-Man for Peter is more of a compulsion. You know, and his whole entire desire to go save people comes from guilt, you know, comes from this sort of really high expectation that he has of himself because of how hard he failed his Uncle Ben. And I find so much resonance with that. I resonate with that because, yeah, I think I too feel this sort of like, I can't fail. Like, I can't let people down. I can't give up again. I gave up once. I can't do it again. You know? Somebody has to have hope in this world, dude. Somebody has to say something and say that there's, hey guys, we do have control. And we are able to make a change. because eventually all these old people are going to die and somebody's going to take over. It's going to be us. And we can make change through our words. We can make change. And people are going to keep saying that you can't. People are going to keep saying you're powerless, because that's what we're taught to believe, is that we don't have power, that the system is rigged against us, that just it's impossible to fix all of these issues. And I just refuse to believe it, you know? I don't want to be a part, and maybe it's naive, but I don't want to be a part of that crowd that says it's over. You know, I want to be a part of the crowd that says we're just getting started. Maybe we can build a better world if we all actually started communicating with each other and stopped staring at our phones. You know? Building a better society starts with having a conversation with someone, a real human being that's in front of you, that's real, that has feelings and emotions. We're so desensitized, man. I'm so desensitized. I'm sick of being a victim to this shit. I'm so tired of all of it. I am sick of scrolling my phone for 8 fucking hours a day sometimes, dude. I mean, it is very sad. The level of addiction, the level of anxiety, depression, comparison, self-doubt that I experience when I'm on social media, you know? Meanwhile, everybody thinks I'm winning out here. It's honestly kind of comedic. Like that everybody thinks that I'm balling out because I look like it, because my image might look like it. Oh, I sold out a show, whatever. That's awesome, but I'm still working a 9 to 5. I'm still not living my dream, dude. I'm still overworked and exhausted and depressed and tired and burnt out. And I'm still not there ever. I'm never there for my family enough the way that I want to be, you know? And sometimes it's not even because I don't have time. Sometimes it's because I am so introverted and such a recluse that I choose to isolate myself from the people I love, because I get overstimulated, and I don't know why my brain is this way. It pisses me off, you know, that I can't sit with the people I love without sometimes feeling like I don't want to be there, and having it come across that way, even though I just desperately want to be there at the same time. But yeah, I'm tired of the way that the world feels. There's this humongous bleakness that I feel like everyone is feeling right now. I think we all know what that feels, what that is, you know? And we're just sitting here. You know, I don't want to be a guy that just sits here as I'm sitting here. But I don't want to be a guy that does nothing or says nothing, you know? It's so hard because I'm a people pleaser. Like, I really am a people pleaser. As much as I try hard to, like, set boundaries and stuff, I truly, you know, setting boundaries has been the hardest thing I've ever done, dude. It's so hard to tell people no. It's so hard. And I learned how to practice it, like, expertly, because I knew that I was susceptible to being someone who says yes all the time. And I used to do it all the time. And I was so depleted. I had nothing left. But then even now, you know, like I said, I'm working behind the scenes. I'm working and working. And I just wonder when it's going to ever end, you know? So yeah, this is what I'm really going through, you know? And even as I'm talking about this, I'm debating whether I should even post this or not, because I'm like, is this too real? Am I being too honest? But this is the whole point. This is my whole brand, dude. It's like, I'm a person just like you. I'm just a guy, bro. Like, I have been fighting for 6 years just to try to do what I like doing for a living. You know, and I've fallen on my face over and over again. And yet somehow every single time I got back up. And I kept going. I don't even know how. I truly think it's God, because it was relying on him, praying to him, begging him, God, please do not leave me in the dust here, because I see that you've given me a vision. I see that you've given me a purpose, and I just need a little bit of confirmation, not much, but just give me a little bit of confirmation that I'm not crazy and that it's okay for me to believe in something again. You know, and that I'm not just doing this out of coping mechanism and depression and becoming a workaholic because, you know, I can't sit in the present because I'm so, you know, please God, tell me that it's purpose calling me and not pressure. And I too experience jealousy and frustration and compare myself all the time. So if you look at me and you think I'm winning and you think I'm doing good right now, I need you to know how badly I'm struggling right now to keep going. Like, I know this is really raw, bro. I know this is too honest. I'm sure it's jarring, but I don't care, because someone out there also feels this way, and someone out there needs to hear that somebody else feels this way. That, like I said, just because it looks like things are going my way, it doesn't feel that way all the time, and it isn't that way all the time. And, you know, I get jealous. I see other artists doing good, and, you know, I send my songs to people, and I get left on red, and I get, you know, I feel it. I feel this, like, I feel hated by people sometimes. I feel like people really just want me to fail, you know. They don't even have to say it. Like, it's just in the air, you know. And I'm just like, man, if only you knew how badly I want you to win, and how badly I just want to be a leader in this community from a standpoint of not being put on a pedestal, but being somebody that actually has some real shit to say, that can actually create unity instead of separation and disparity, you know? And so, yeah, I debate, you know, which albums to put out, which songs to put out, because I have these two sides to me. This one side of me that I totally could make a flex rap and show the fuck off because I'm talented as fuck. And no one can take that away from me because I worked for my talent. It didn't come to me naturally. I earned it through skill and practice, nights of hundreds of takes, thousands of takes. I recorded hundreds. I have thousands of songs now at this point in my life. I have recorded thousands of songs. People don't know this. I put out 7 albums in 3 years' time, all that went pretty much unheard, at least from the local scene standpoint, you know, or at least I felt that way. It didn't seem like it was going anywhere, you know. And then finally, people start taking me a little bit seriously because I get out here in the scene again, and I pop back out. I start showing up with a little more serious content. You know, I've got more support behind me from my friends. Like, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm grateful, and I'm not trying to complain. I'm so grateful, dude. By the way, if you're one of my people, man, that has just supported this journey, especially since the very beginning, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I would not be here without you guys. It's you guys who actually pushed me to get back on this shit again and believe in myself again when I was doubting and giving up. But I cannot even begin to tell you how hard it was to push through my own mental struggle and my own self-doubt. It was so big, dude. It was so large. The amount of the insurmountable wall of self-doubt can be so degrading and defeating. And I had to start from the very, very rock bottom again and be like, why am I thinking about chasing my dreams right now? I can't even buy a bottle of shampoo. And I had to freaking start from ground zero, you know, and work my way up. But even as far as I've come, I still feel like I'm at ground zero sometimes, you know. And so anyways, you know, this was just originally going to be for me, but I feel like this video is becoming for you, you know, the person watching this. And I think that's good, you know. This is what I want, is like, by expressing myself truly and authentically, and even being able to say that I'm scared and depressed and dealing with things and carrying a lot of weight by myself, you know, it's by doing that, dude, that creates the type of world I'm trying to build for my fan base, which is people who understand that we're all just human, and we are all valuable, and there's nobody with a greater purpose than you. You know, you and I are on our own path, our own beautiful path that God is writing, that God is paving. And you know, I sometimes feel truly stupid for choosing to be an optimist. I feel naive for choosing to be an optimist in a world where there's human trafficking, where there's rape, murder, you know, these horrible, horrible things happening all the time, right this second as I'm speaking. You know, I find it stupid and childish to sit here and say there's hope, and say that I believe in and say that I'm an optimist, you know. But to me, what other option is there? Because if I just accept that this is the way the world is, there is no future for my children. There is no future for me and for you. And I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I want to build a future that I'm excited about, that you're excited about. I want you to be excited about the future, and I want to be a part of your excitement about it. Your belief that there is a tomorrow. Because there is a today, and you can do something about today. So I'm going to choose to keep trying to live authentically and not be afraid to say that I'm jealous and I'm human and I'm cocky sometimes and I'm selfish sometimes and I'm self-absorbed in my world and can be, I can certainly be checked out sometimes, and I can be lazy, and I can also work too hard and not be present. And at the end of the day, just like all of you, I'm trying to find a balance too. You know, deep down, I'm just trying to escape back to those days when I was a kid and playing video games in my room, and where I was safe, you know, where I could sit and play, you know, freaking like Zelda or Mario or, you know, Pokemon, like just in peace. I could sit and play for 8 hours and I didn't feel like I was wasting my time, you know. And I could nerd out about all my little things, little interests, and dive fully in, you know. That's really the place I want to go back to. But it's kind of sad because along that journey of trying to get back there, I lost my care for those interests anyway. You know, I got to a certain point that I just didn't even resonate with those old interests anymore the way that I used to. I've had to work to rediscover them and fall in love with them, you know. Like I've had to be intentional and say like, no, go play a video game. Go do something you love, Harlan. Go do something you miss doing. Why do I have to wait till I make it to go do something I miss doing? Just go do it. You know? But I just feel I feel guilt. I had this conversation with my brother Xander about just buying a Nintendo Switch. He was like, bro, just buy a Nintendo Switch and play video games. And I'm so hard on myself. I'm like, I can't, dude. Like, I can't spend money on something like that. I gotta, you know, I gotta keep it going. You know, I got rent to pay now and like all these things. And he's like, why is it a waste? Why do you think it's a waste of money to buy something that's gonna enrich your day and and do something for fun, you know? Guys, this is who I really am. This is what I struggle with. And I think that, honestly, you know, I'm sometimes more myself when I'm on stage or when I'm recording videos like this than I am in person. You know, I often feel this, you know, more connected when I'm acting as a parasocial relationship, which feels kind of like a bad or unhealthy thing. But I just think, I don't know, it's just the way that I operate. I've always been a performer. I've always been, you know, a stage presence. Like that was how I grew up, was performing. And so it's all I know. It's making videos. I was never afraid to share my life with people. I think because it was already, you know, it was already overshared when I was young. Before I even was old enough to understand it, my life was already being shared on television, you know. My parents went on a TV show and, you know, I was on it, and I remember cameras being in my face, and, you know, there was no such thing as privacy, you know. And maybe that's why I've learned to, you know, just like be so vulnerable in public. But I thought that was a bad thing. I used to think that was a bad thing, you know, for a time. I did. But now I'm beginning to think it's the very reason I'm able to connect with people is because I can be so authentic in public. In front of your eyes, I can say, hey, I'm failing and I'm falling on my face and I'm tired. You know, what are you going to do to me? Tell me I'm not good enough? You're right, I'm not. Like, I'm never going to be good enough, you know? I'm never going to do enough for anybody watching this, man. You know, you're either going to hate me for being myself or you're going to love me for being myself. Like, both are equally valid. I'm just accepting that now. It's like, I can't even take it personally, man. If you hate me, like, I can't help you, bro. I don't need to change your mind. But I hope I can inspire you at least to maybe think a little bit deeper than me. You know, it's not about me, what I'm doing. You know, if it was about me, I wouldn't be making these, I wouldn't do this stuff, bro. I wouldn't post this if it was about me. I would post videos that make me look like I have all this shit figured out, you know? But, this is me. You know, I'm a guy dealing with questions and struggles, and, you know, thank God for my faith, because it's only God who has been there for me and never let me down, you know? And at a certain point, I just realized that, you know, it's nobody but me and God. That's it. He's all I have. He's all I ever will have. That relationship is something sacred to me, personal, real. I'm tired of hiding from it and acting like it's not real just because I'm not always totally sure what religion to fit it under. You know, the fact is, I know Jesus Christ and I know God, and that's how I feel He has chosen to encounter me. You know, is through Christ. I experience fear in sharing that sometimes because I don't want to be this controversial dude, but like, when you believe something with full conviction, like you believe it, and you'd stake your life on it. I can't really hide from what I have experienced, you know, although I do try. I really do try, because I don't want it to be anybody else's business. You know, what I'm talking about with God, it's not anyone else's business. But I also feel God calls me to say, hey, you need to share more of your heart. I created you. So I don't know what the future holds for this for me, but when you guys see me at the shows and you see me performing or you see me in public, please say hello. Talk to me. I don't bite. I don't think I'm better than you. And when I talk on stage about how there's this movement, you guys are the movement. When I say things like that, it's important for you to know that this is the place that I'm coming from when I say that. Is we are a collective that can become something so much greater. And it's ironically through our individuality that we will find connection. And so you got to get specific about who you are. Who are you? Ask yourself and know yourself deeply, more than anyone could ever know you. Know yourself and know that God knows you in that exact same way, if not more. He knows you deeper than you even know yourself. And I encourage you to ask and speak to Him and be encountered in this moment by Him through knowledge that you are valuable, beautifully made, wonderfully created, intentionally loved and adored. Learn yourself and be yourself. The best possible thing you can be is different, because you'll find through those differences how much, ironically, so many people are just the same as you, and they just want to hear a voice that says, Me too.